Do you know Japan's most iconic and strangest hairstyle? The Chonmage samurai topknot. To many Westerners, it looked bizarre, like a little tail stuck on the head. But in Japan, for over 1,000 years, this hairstyle wasn't about fashion. It was about identity, pride, and survival in an ever-changing world. Today, we'll take you on a journey through Japanese history, from ancient warriors to Edo period style icons, to the dramatic moment when Japan finally let go of the topknot and stepped into the modern world. So, why did Japanese men wear the Chonmage for over 1,000 years? Why did Japanese men wear topknots for over 1,000 years? Did you know Japan had a hairstyle so iconic it lasted for more than 1,000 years? To many in the West, it looks strange. A tiny knot on top of the head. Some even compared it to a pig's tail. But why? Why did Japanese men shave the front of their heads and carefully tie their hair into this unique style? The answer isn't just about fashion. It's about survival, identity, and status. In ancient Japan, your hairstyle could literally show who you were. Imagine this. In the days of endless wars, samurai wore heavy helmets called kabuto. But Japan is hot and humid. Wearing a helmet all day made your head sweat terribly. So, they shaved the front of the head to avoid heat and discomfort. The remaining hair was tied neatly into a topknot. Easy to manage, quick to prepare for battle. But over time, this practical solution became something more. The Chonmage turned into a symbol of power, discipline, and even attractiveness. Yes, women found it appealing too. In some ways, this hairstyle became the face of Japanese culture for over a millennium. Even today, when people think of samurai, they picture the topknot. It makes you wonder, why do some cultures hold on to traditions even when they seem unnecessary? Would you still wear a style if the whole world called it strange? Let's explore how this unusual hairstyle began and how it shaped Japan's identity for centuries. Ancient hairstyles from hunters to aristocrats. Long before the samurai, what did ancient Japanese people do with their hair? It's a question few people ask, but it reveals something fascinating about Japan's early society. In prehistoric times, Japanese men likely wore their hair loose and wild. They were hunters and gatherers, focused on survival, not style. But everything changed around the 3rd century. As Japan began interacting with advanced civilizations like China, hairstyles took on new meanings. In particular, Chinese influence introduced ideas of rank and ceremony. Hair was no longer just hair. It became a symbol of status. For the first time, Japanese men began parting their hair on both sides and tying it neatly at the back or around the ears. This was called mazura, one of Japan's earliest formal hairstyles. Later, in the 7th century, Japan adopted the 12-level cap and rank system from China. Different colored caps were given based on social rank. To wear these caps properly, men had to style their hair to fit underneath them. This is when the practice of tying the hair flat on top started to spread among officials and nobles. It's interesting, isn't it, how something as simple as hair can show how deeply one culture absorbs the values of another. Would you change your hairstyle if it meant gaining social respect or power? In ancient Japan, people did just that. And from here, the journey toward the samurai's Chonmage had truly begun. The birth of the Chonmage function over fashion. In the world of the samurai, shaving the front of the head wasn't just a fashion choice. It was a matter of survival. Let's step into Japan's chaotic Middle Ages, a time when wars never seemed to end. The battlefield wasn't just dangerous, it was physically exhausting. Imagine wearing a heavy metal helmet, called a kabuto, for hours in Japan's hot, humid climate. The heat, the sweat, the discomfort, it was unbearable. So the samurai came up with a solution. They shaved the front of their heads. Less hair meant less sweat, less itch, and better comfort. But that wasn't all. They didn't just leave the rest of the hair wild. They tied it carefully into a neat knot on top. This was the birth of the Chonmage. At first, Samurai only shaved their heads when going to war. But as wars dragged on, it became too troublesome to grow it back every time. Soon, the shaved look became the everyday style, and something interesting happened. This practical hairstyle took on deeper meaning. The clean forehead symbolized discipline. The topknot showed readiness for battle. And somehow, women began to find it attractive too. It's fascinating, isn't it? How a simple need for comfort can transform into a powerful symbol. Think about it. What things in your own culture started as pure necessity, but became symbols of pride or identity? For the samurai, the Chonmage became more than hair. It became who they were. Samurai swagger, style, power, and love appeal. In medieval Japan, the samurai's topknot wasn't just practical. It was a bold symbol of power, discipline, and surprisingly, attractiveness. To survive on the battlefield, samurai shaved the front of their heads. But as wars became constant, this practical haircut evolved into something much more. A clean forehead showed discipline. A well-tied topknot showed readiness and strength. And for many women at the time, this look became surprisingly appealing. A samurai with a sharp topknot looked dignified, mature, and reliable. Men who kept their front hair unshaved were seen as childish. Only boys did that. Shaving the forehead was part of becoming an adult. So the Chonmage wasn't just about comfort. It was a social statement. It silently declared, "I'm grown up. I'm ready. I'm strong." Even the way the topknot was tied evolved over time. Higher, tighter, sharper. Each variation reflected not just personal style, but social rank and cultural values. And this isn't unique to Japan. Every culture has visual symbols. Things that say, without words, "I belong. I matter. I've come of age." What about your culture? What clothes, hairstyles, or symbols say "I'm grown up" where you're from? For the samurai, that message lived in a simple knot of hair. The humble but powerful Chonmage. The hair revolution of the Edo period, when fashion exploded. In Edo period Japan, hairstyles exploded into an art form. For the first time, both men and women began expressing individuality through their hair like never before. The constant wars had ended. Japan entered a long era of peace under the Tokugawa shogunate. And when people no longer had to fight for survival, they started caring more about how they looked. Fashion, entertainment, and art flourished. And hair became part of this cultural bloom. By the mid-Edo period, there were nearly 300 known hairstyles for men and women combined. Some were elegant, some bold, some playful. For men, the basic Chonmage remained. But variations appeared. Higher knots, wider knots, tighter ties. Even the way the shaved area was shaped changed. Some kept it narrow, others shaved it wide. Hair signaled not just style, but class, occupation, and even personality. Actors, merchants, craftsmen, samurai. Each had their own way of presenting themselves through hair. For women, hairstyles became even more elaborate, with combs, pins, and hair ornaments so detailed. They became fashion statements in their own right. And the hair salons called Kamiyui Decoro boomed in popularity. Getting your hair done became not just a necessity, but a social event. It's amazing, isn't it? How peace can unleash creativity in every corner of life, even hair. And if you think about it, doesn't this still happen today? When times are peaceful and prosperous, people start caring more about expression, fashion, and beauty. In Edo, Japan, hairstyle wasn't just about following rules. It became a joyful expression of who you were. Hair as identity, what your hair said about you. In Edo, Japan, hair wasn't just something on your head. It was your identity. Your hairstyle could reveal your age, your social status, your job, even your relationship status. For men, the type of Chonmage, the way it was tied, and how much they shaved, all carried meaning. A tight, high knot? Maybe a proud samurai. A softer, wider style? Perhaps a wealthy merchant or an artist. Even how much you shaved said something. A wide shaved forehead symbolized discipline and dignity. A narrow one could hint at a lower rank or a more casual life. For women, it was even more detailed. A single hair ornament could say, "I'm married," "I'm single," or "I'm in mourning." Hair was more than beauty, it was communication. It's fascinating how human beings, everywhere, use appearance to silently send social messages. Think about it. Even today, people judge each other by hair. A clean-cut style might say professional. Bright colors might say artistic or rebellious. Long, flowing hair or a sharp fade. All these choices still tell silent stories. In Edo, Japan, the unspoken rules were everywhere. Everyone read hair automatically, without thinking. Just by glancing at someone's head, you could tell their place in the world. Would you want to live in a society where your hairstyle instantly revealed your rank, your background, your personal life? Or do you prefer today's freedom to express yourself however you like? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because every culture has its own hidden codes. And sometimes, they're right on top of your head. The end of the Chonmage, the shock of westernization. In the late 19th century, everything in Japan changed. And the Chonmage was no exception. As Japan opened its doors to the West, the country was desperate to modernize, to catch up with Europe and America. But to the eyes of Westerners, the samurai topknot looked odd, even backward. Some even joked that it resembled a pig's tail. For Japan's leaders, the Chonmage became a symbol of the old Japan they wanted to leave behind. Along with the samurai's sword, the topknot had to go. In 1871, the government issued the Danpachere Decree, allowing men to cut their hair short, and giving up the right to carry swords. It wasn't a strict order, but the message was clear. Modern men should look Western. Soon, more and more Japanese men began cutting their topknots. Students, soldiers, even government officials, all chose short hair over tradition. For some, this was liberation. For others, it felt like losing a part of their soul. Imagine it, a hairstyle worn for over 1,000 years, suddenly declared old-fashioned overnight. It was more than just hair. It was the end of an era, the death of the samurai way of life. And yet, not everyone was ready to let go. Some clung to their topknots as a silent protest, a refusal to erase their past. It's a powerful reminder. When a society changes too quickly, identity can become fragile, and even something as simple as hair can carry the weight of history. Women and hair. When even ladies faced haircut controversy, the wave of change didn't stop with men. Even women in Japan found themselves caught in the transformation. After the Danpachere Decree, some women began cutting their hair too, embracing short styles influenced by the West. For centuries, Japanese women wore their hair long. Long, black hair symbolized beauty, virtue, and femininity. It was more than just fashion. It was an expectation deeply rooted in culture. So when a few bold women cut their hair, society was shocked. Newspapers called it immoral and unwomanly. Some said it was a disgrace to Japanese tradition. The backlash was so strong that local governments issued specific bans on women cutting their hair. Women who already had short hair were forced to carry permits until it grew back, just to avoid public shaming or fines. Why such a strong reaction? Because in every culture, women's appearance is often tied to ideas of purity, honor, and family pride. To cut the hair wasn't just a fashion choice. It felt like rebellion. It shows us something important. When people challenge old ideas, especially women, society doesn't always respond kindly. And yet, change is unstoppable. Little by little, shorter hairstyles for women became acceptable. Japan, like the rest of the world, began to modernize not just on the outside, but in the hearts of its people. What about today? Do you think society still places unfair pressure on how women should look? Has true freedom of appearance really arrived? Or are hidden expectations still shaping us? From samurai to salaryman, the birth of modern Japanese style. As the Chonmage disappeared, something new began to take its place. A modern Japanese identity was being born. The Meiji era was a time of radical change. Japan was racing to catch up with the West, adopting new technologies, new laws, and yes, new fashion. For men, short Western-style haircuts became the new standard, but many felt uncomfortable showing their bare heads in public. Why? Because for over 1,000 years, Japanese men had worn their hair in a way that covered the head. To hide this discomfort, hats became wildly popular. Panama hats, bowler hats, hunting caps, all became essential parts of the new Japanese gentleman's look. At the same time, traditional kimono began giving way to Western suits. The modern man of Japan was no longer a warrior. He was a teacher, a banker, a businessman. The samurai had vanished, and the salaryman was born. But this transformation wasn't just about appearances. It was about mindset, a new value system based on efficiency, education, and hard work. Replaced the old ideals of honor, loyalty, and the sword. In many ways, this is the Japan the world still sees today. A country that blends deep respect for the past with an intense drive toward the future. But can you imagine? What would it feel like to lose an identity you've held for centuries and step into a completely new one almost overnight? How would your country handle such a sudden shift? Would you embrace the future or mourn the past? The last Topknots: how sumo wrestlers keep the legacy alive. Even though the Chonmage disappeared from daily life, it never vanished completely. One tradition kept the Topknot alive: sumo. Even today, Japan's sumo wrestlers wear the Chonmage, not as a fashion statement, but as a living symbol of heritage. In the sumo world, the Topknot represents discipline, honor, and respect for history. Wrestlers spend years growing their hair, and professional hairdressers called tokoyama carefully style it into the signature topknot for every match. The Chonmage in sumo isn't just about looks. It's sacred. It ties the modern sport to its ancient roots. When a wrestler retires, a special ceremony called Danpatsu Shiki is held. In front of a cheering crowd, the wrestler's topknot is cut off. A powerful moment marking the end of a career and the closing of one life chapter. This tradition shows something deeply Japanese, a quiet respect for the past, even as the world changes. While most countries discard old customs without a second thought, Japan finds a way to keep memory alive. Not everywhere, not in everything, but in small, symbolic places that matter. It makes you wonder, in your own culture, are there traditions worth keeping? Even if they no longer serve a practical purpose, do they still carry meaning in your heart? For Japan, the humble topknot lives on it in battlefields, but in the doyo's sacred sumo ring. And maybe, that's the real secret of tradition. Not to hold it too tight, but to let it evolve while honoring where it came from. Cultural habits like this may seem small, but they reflect big ideas. How does your culture compare? Let's share and learn from each other. Leave a comment if you'd like. And please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.